I'm Toby Hodges from Yachting World, and welcome aboard a yacht I've been very excited to be sailing aboard, because I've been talking with the designer about this boat for about 8 years or so now, and so it is brilliant to finally be here off Kiel, sailing it for European Yacht of the Year Awards 2024. Welcome to the Heyman 42 EPH. And we've got a couple of days of sailing here, light winds and really nice winds now, so it looks like we've got about 15 to 18 knots true. We just pulled out the reacher sail, full main up, warm sunshine, and it's a great chance to really have a good look aboard this pilothouse cruiser, which is full of interesting ideas particularly for Baltic cruising, but for couples cruising and long distance cruising, it's got a lot, it's got a lifetime of ideas in this boat, I would say, all from Gabriel Heyman. First thing to point out as we go for a jibe here, just furling in the reaching sail. It's all push button controlled, everything from the cockpit here, but the first thing to point out really is just how big this is for a 42-footer. There are 12 of us on board. Everyone's itching to get on board at the moment. So I'll try to do this a bit later on with less people on board. But I just wanted to show you who can keep sailing pretty well with that many people on board. In fact, last night we had 17 sat around this cockpit. Must be the biggest monohull cockpit cruising comfort that I've been aboard. Just reefing a bit more sail here. You've got a shallow waters and this really ugly, I don't know if you can see it, there's very, very little distance between each wave. And we are punching up into them with an average of 22 to 26 knots true. So yeah, over 30 over the deck. But the boat's been handling it well. Nice proper shear line to it, which I'll try and show you from the dock, but shear rises nicely to the bow, and it's a sharp bow, so it's cut through these okay. But with enough drive on, she's been averaging about 7 knots through here, so respectable figures given the not very respectable conditions. But we'll see what happens when we go off the wind a little bit, probably a bit more comfortable. Sunny sailing though, can't complain. I've just come off the helm, and it's quite interesting to note you do get some good feedback from the single rudder, which is mounted very far aft on this. In fact, you can see the top of the rudder blade from behind this counter stern. But you get a useful amount of feedback from that, in that when we had too much main up, we were getting a bit of weather helm. So we're sort of balancing it between keeping enough drive and momentum through these waves to keep the boat going, and you know, not over pressing it too much really. See what it's like on the inside. It's a lovely light galley. So much natural light on here. So this is really, should be about as loud as an interior it's going to get, punching into waves. Bit of vibration, probably just on the mast, but you know, creaking right by the mast base here. And this doing an admirable job cutting through the waves. So you see we've kept the mainsail well reefed at the moment, but pulled out the reacher, which is a sort of heavier code 0, I guess, but Gabriel says it can be used from sort of 50 degrees right through to dead downwind. It will goose wing without needing a pole, which is pretty handy. Easy maintenance sail, and also because you've got the high cut clew, so you've got good visibility under there. That also means a single sheeting point for it, which again, user friendly, so you don't need a track on the side or different sheeting points for that. It just comes to the single block, again sharing one of these two aft winches. So we're currently sailing still in about 22, 23 knots, making about 7.5 to 8 knots boat speed. And in case you're wondering, this foot spar that comes through here, that's there's a rubber gasket seal that's going to go across that bottom bit, which will stop that. It's quite refreshing though. That's why we've all taken our shoes off. Quite a neat system for this main sheet on top of the roof here. So as I say, everything sheeted back to those aft winches, including this, through those lovely blocks there on the side, down and through to the aft clutches and winches. And the green and red line are basically, double function. Now, when you're going upwind, they can act like a fine trim and give you that extra bit that you're not going to get from having the bridle set up to bring the boom up to windward more. And then they can be used to connect a preventer to as well when you're running downwind. You can see here we're just coming up for a jibe here, might be a bit wobbly. And then the rest of them running rigging here runs under the slots in that coach roof. So the deck is one peak, and then the roof itself, the actual top of this coach roof, is another part. A lot of work done on keeping the friction out of those lines running through the tubes to aft. We're going to show it in anchor mode or in port mode. So obviously if you're going stern to, you'd move the dinghy off those and the davits fold inwards. Gabriel is showing now lowering this platform, which locks both sides on deadbolts there and on a cam cleat. So it does feel nice and secure when you're in there. It helps add to this nice deep cockpit area. And then obviously you've got these director's chairs which fill in this gap. And this davit design is one of Gabriel's as well. And so the dinghy moves aft as you lower it to clear the big swim platform. And then you stick the kids in there and you've got even more space in the cockpit. So it's still blowing dogs off chains out there. Just got windier all day, but got back in port. Apologies for the wind noise out on deck, but hopefully it's a good time to show you around the boat because everyone else has left now or is leaving. So there is plenty of it to show you. So I'm going to start up here on the bow with a big chunky bow roller with the offset anchor there, attack point for your asymmetric, and then this bow ladder here which just clamps onto the bowsprit, used here as we were docking to jump onto the dock or throw a line ashore, but obviously classically used in the Baltic, Sweden and west coast there to anchor up bow 2. And then, yes, you've got the two powered furlers here for the head sails, so the reacher there and the self-tacking jib work very well. I mean, yes, they're very close together. It just means that when you're using the reacher, you have to furl it before you jibe, really. But it seemed to be a good solution, I think, in terms of sail power. And then moving aft. This is huge. Let me open it up, the sail locker. fact, I'll climb down in here. Come down with me. So you can, on passage, fit the Zodiac that's on the davits in here as well. I guess obviously if you didn't have an asymmetric sail in there as well. But loads of fender stowage in here. You've got the anchor chain, stainless steel anchor chain offset on that side, going up through the windlass there, and a ladder and a rail to tie your sheets, your warps and your spare sheets to, and fenders. And what allows that is obviously that's the forward watertight bulkhead behind it, which is very far forward, because you'll see, if I haven't shown you already, below, the size of the master berth forward, which is very, very wide and really enjoys this beam, which is then taken from here further aft. Moving aft, good amount of solar panel space on here, and the coach roof. Big skylight hatches for that forward cabin, which open, one opens one way, the other way, to get ventilation, whatever the wind direction. Sort of not the prettiest self-tacking jib rail track, but it makes sense for the high cut sail and to get the best shape out of it. Very impressive speed on the Selden in-mast furling as well. You can really pop that sail away very, very quickly. You see the two sheets running off that self-tacking jib as well. And that is because it's the same with the main. The main is sheeted and the jib is sheeted to each side, which means you can have the main on one winch and the jib on the other on both tacks. As I mentioned before, all the running rigging led very neatly through that coach roof going aft. These use the Lund sails. These are membrane sails with an aramid fibre in them. Seem to perform pretty well. Those had a good amount of roach in them with the vertical battens at the top as well. And you can see here walking aft, it's not actually that high, this pilot house. Good grab rail on it, and it feels safe both walking aft with the boat and then when you get to this massive cockpit. It's just so deep and spacious and beamy. It's really quite a revelation. I'll show you, it's not that high a freeboard boat, but I'll show you from the dock here, and I was able to step on and off that through the brilliant use of that hull step. And Gabriel Heyman is a very clever designer. If you haven't come across him before, he's got a patent on the IACC America's Cutboat keels, the trim tabs they used on those, and he's always come. If you look on his website, he's full of good ideas on his boats, and this Heyman 42 PPH pocket pilot house boat incorporates plenty of them, and that's a beauty. So it looks like a whole window. Same on the other side of the boat, but yeah, just helps you getting on and off it. And why have I come off the boat? To show you the shear line as well. So really, it's an attractive looking boat in my eyes. So you've got a near plumb stem there, but it's it's quite fine, especially in the bows, and so it cut through the chop pretty well. But that's a proper shear. It's a nice high bow, and then the shear drops away, so it's not a super high freeboard height on it, which I really like. However, that just makes it very easy to step aboard as well. Onto that space for a whole rugby or America's football team to come in here and enjoy your boat with you if you really want it. And this whole counter stern swim platform idea is again one of Gabriel's really good innovations, I think, because it gives you this. You've still got the pretty shape of a counter stern, but you get all of this swim platform area, which is obviously key these days in extending a deck space of a boat and life at anchor. But the difference is most modern designs, you know, have a cutaway transom, and you just don't feel so secure in there. And hopefully, from sailing, showing the sailing footage of this, and from on board here, you'll get an appreciation of both how deep and wide and spacious this cockpit is. And with that closed and the deadbolts in, cam cleated off, it's secure and you feel secure. Yes, there was the water rushing through this gap here today, but with a rubber seal that wouldn't happen. You know, and the deck drainage in the quarters there is pretty good as well. So you can sit up against that even if you had a bench aft here as well. But with these seats here, you know, you're contained in this deep cockpit and you feel protected and secure. In fact, choosing where to sit is going to be one of your big dilemmas on this yacht, because there are plenty of good choices. I mean, this is the go-to option. Obviously, it's a regal push pit seat each side, where you sit up above that coach roof line, look forward. Very, very nice indeed. But also, obviously, on the helm seats themselves, sat up on these benches with your feet up, protected from the wind of the pilot house, under the pilot house there. And yeah, and then in terms of sailing, typically today we were standing to windward, and if you want to see above that pilot house, this lifts and then this board drops down. I can't do it without using another hand, so I'll drop it down now. And while that doesn't give you it's a flat plate, so it doesn't give you bracing when you're heel right over, it does mean that you see straight over the top of that roof. So I'm now going to attempt some before and after shots to show you just how much deck space there is, and stowage space especially. So I'm going to lift these hatches and bench lockers up now, so you can see, basically, as well as the sail locker, we have these massive bench cockpit lockers under here, well, lazarette spaces really, because there's no accommodation aft of the glass bulkhead. These tables, obviously twin tables, leaf out each side, so you can sit 4 along each bench, and obviously you've got the director's chairs. Below here is what's called a life raft locker, but it's huge, and that's the engine bay in here. So let me lift those up now. So this is a life raft locker for a 6-man life raft in here, but it's huge, it's very deep, especially with that well in there as well, and there is access to the rudder stock and quadrant rather stock, but the quadrant and the Jeffer steering connection there to it from each of the helms, which is just chained to those bars. But yeah, huge amount of space in there. And then you see how the aft part of the bench lifts as well as the central part when you open the hatch to get in here. And then this is mirrored on the other side. So both sides, this is the port side, both sides are this long. Absolutely vast. And this one has torpedo engine in there. There's another director's chair, got cockpit cushions in there. There's space to mount both a small genset in here and a water maker. And you've got a hot water tank and sort of plumbing this side, whereas the charger inverters on the starboard side. Big areas here, and that's yeah, that's a watertight bulkhead behind here. So in front of the life raft locker. So you've got a watertight bulkhead here, the glass watertight bulkhead there into the accommodation, and the one forward in the sail locker as well. And we'll have a look in the engine bay below there between the tables. So the gas strut is broken on this one, so I've got to hold it up while I show you this. But you can see it's a big old space, although there is no side or forward access to it. It's only this from above. So for certain aspects, while it's great for dropping an engine in or again removing one, if you needed to get at certain things, it's quite tight, especially this forward end. So yeah, changing that impeller, for example, is going to be a skilled operation. But yeah, I would say there would be scope to increase the access to that, maybe by putting a side one into from either locker, either side there. But in general, I mean, that is pretty good space to get at the 75 horsepower Volvo Penta, and it's got a bronze folding prop on the end of that shaft. So obviously, I guess the downside of having all of this much space in terms of guest cockpit area is it pushes everything back into these quarters, and that's, yeah, you've got a powered Anderson 50 each side to manage that. But yeah, I mean, there is a luxurious amount of lounging and deck space, I guess, as well as the saloon. But it's a couple's boat, really. Tails go in here below the pedestal. But in terms of visibility, it's pretty good, really, and that's clear glass and plenty of it. So this is essentially a glass bulkhead, and you can see pretty substantial locking mechanisms for the door, 8mm glass, 10mm there. Really neat details everywhere. And then you're moving into a very nice, comfortable deck saloon area. So that is, as you see here, there's no step into the saloon. It's just on the same level here, 2 steps down and a smaller one into the galley area. And what that means is, whether you're seated here in the saloon, looking out at the horizon views around surround view, or you're standing here working at the galley, what a lovely place to be. You're at the same eye height as those seated in that deck saloon or in the cockpit. Really, it's just an incredible use of space, natural light, not use of, but covering an amount of it. It's, yeah, amazing for a 42-footer. Really, that's, as I said, a couple's boat. But this is, you know, the boat, that's what the pocket part of a pocket pilot house is referring to, really. The whole concept started those many years ago as a much smaller boat, 10 foot smaller, I think, and it's grown and grown and grown and grown to incorporate all of this space we see now. And yeah, I mean, what's the beam on this? 4.3 meters, 14-footer beam in this cockpit area. As I mentioned, my impressions of the boat are that it's been really well both thought out, designed, built and finished. And you feel that it feels safe and secure and robust. Finish quality really good. So moving into here, great fiddles on this table, which then leaves out each side, and again on that part, which is the backrest to this area here. I'll try and show you that in a second. And again, all around the galley here, deep fiddles. And moving forward through the boat in this satin finished mahogany, lovely to touch, and it just, yeah, details everywhere, and it's a good cruising boat. And by that I mean it's built solidly. It has, you know, multi and unidirectional glass, Vinylester vacuum infused bulkheads. It's built in a yard in Estonia, which, yeah, Gabriel visited and thought was pretty amazing build quality, and from what I can see, finish quality looks superb. Details, yeah, look at this. These drawers below there, below the steps here, circuit breakers. Empty tanks below, central part, and then galley. Hang on, let me finish this saloon area. So that unlocks, and then the whole of that bench seat slides out aft here, and the back. This is the backrest. So what that means is you then easily sit 6 around this deck saloon table as well. and also long enough to sleep on. So take those cushions off and you've got a wide enough bench there for a pilot berth. The galley, just as I said, a lovely place to work from, good amount of work surface space and just so much natural light. The terms of stowage, you've got forward opening fridge here, and then a lift top in the quarter part of it in there, and then nice amount of space for some dry goods, outboard, and your crockery, stowage and glasses outboard as well, and then bank of drawers for cutlery, Force 10 stove, nice little area, twin sink with a drying up area outboard as well, and then bin etc below there, and then this for all your tins, wine bottles, dried goods etc. Really big deep locker below the galley sole. That is one of the portholes into the guest cabin. So from here you move down into the lower snug, yet another area to sit down and enjoy. And this is perhaps the part I was asking Gabriel, you know, what you use this area for really. I mean, home office, great. I don't think people are going to watch telly on a boat like this. You could have one there. But you see you've got the trotter box part of this to extend the well, it would be the headroom really, but I think it would make a great pilot berth with a bit more space allocated to it. So removing these, that's the backrest part, which also removes. But you know, you can have a lee cloth on this, and that's fine. But maybe if that was used as a lee board as well, yeah, be a great little pilot berth in there, seagoing berth anyway. It's just a little bit narrow, but you've got the length, not enough to make this area a Pullman, but because of because of that, the length you need, and how far forward that galley comes. But yeah, as it is, a nice place to, because you've only got the big double berths. So on passage, this could be a good place to have a kip. But yeah, as a snug area, as he says, what did Gabriel say? Yeah, after a wet sail, somewhere to come and have a whiskey. Get away from the guests if you've got them. Look at this. This is 1996 Yachting World, in which he won design competition. Yachting World Design Competition 1995. Good size hanging locker under there as well, and there's more stowage space below that bench. And then this little, again, details, just these little odds and ends drawers in there. And you move forward into your owner's cabin there, or the guest cabin there, which have a connecting heads and shower. So moving forward, this is really the master cabin of a 60-footer, not a 40-footer. I mean, that is just astonishing. A 1.6 metre wide berth taken right forward. Loads of natural light and loads of stowage. Plenty of headroom here, still 6'3", I think, right up to this berth. You've got tall hanging locker on the entrance there, with a cupboard drawer below it, and another full height one there. You can get your cocktail dresses hanging up there. The same opposite. Just nice details, reading lights, lamps. Very nicely done. It's a step up each side on those cutaways. and then a bank of 6 drawers below the berth as well. And it's not too bad to be a guest either, because that is massive. You get the headroom as you come in here. There's an opening hatch. Let me close the door. And look at the detail over here to stop the door banging. That is a varnished mahogany block for the door stopper to go on. So yeah, hatch above there, just into the saloon area, and again from the smaller one inboard there. So I guess natural ventilation is going to be your issue in here, but I guess you could fit aircon. You got a hull window here as well, big seat area, and a tall but not deep wardrobe. So maybe losing some of that seating area and bringing that out would give you more wardrobe space if it was kids spending more time or guests that the owners really liked. But this is a lovely spot. Backrest here, reading lights each side. Sit with your feet up, read your book, and there's the headboard end aft as well. I mean, it's almost a square berth, not quite enough to go that way round, but yeah, absolutely vast. And there's the connecting door to the heads and shower. So yeah, one heads, it's only 42 foot, but 2 cabins, you only need 1 head, I think. Make it a good size, which this is. So big heads compartment area and a big, let me close that, separate shower compartment area as well. Again, loads of headroom and lots of space, lots of locker space as well to put your bits and bobs. Well, that water tank behind there. And a nice shower compartment, and this one has a diddly little washing machine as well. Optional. There aren't many options on this. That is one of them. I think there's only three or four options on here. Pretty cool boat, hey? For those of you who've seen enough of my videos, will know I'm pretty impressed with this Swedish design. Gabriel Heyman's poured his very many years of design and passion into this. Designing is what he loves doing, but it's been respected with a very good build as well. It's a niche product, there aren't many others like this. You know, there are pilothouse boats, deck saloon boats, but I think this sits in its own niche. They only want to build a few a year, they can build 5. They've taken orders for 4 off plans alone. No one's seen this boat really yet in the flesh. Couple going to America, I think it'd be popular there. And it is a premium boat. It's 722,000 euros ex VAT, but that's for a very inclusive spec. Yes, it's a lot of money, but so are new boats these days, particularly one that can take you anywhere, or particularly for, I think, coastal cruising, Baltic waters and that sort of thing, spending a long time on board, west coast of Sweden. Fantastic, just beautiful. Yeah, it's 722,000 ex VAT, but that includes everything you see on this boat, pretty much, including electric winches, electric windlass, electric furlers, sails, bow thruster. The only extras on this are the davits, an extra plotter, the washing machine, and a reacher sail. So yeah, what you see is what you get in that price, really. I'm really impressed. I hope you enjoyed the tour. See you next time.